You can see that coming up as recording. That's good. It looks like it's working fine. Okay, so we're in the room. How is everyone? I can see a few things in the chat box. Yes, getting more clarity. Brilliant. That's what we want to see. How many of you have been here before? Is it your first day? Have you been on these sessions with me this week? Found these to be really helpful. Thank you. Good, I'm glad. If it is your first day, welcome to our 5-day series. You can catch up on the previous sessions on replay. I know it's really difficult daytime when you're working and you've got other things going on to catch all the sessions live. So don't worry, the replays are available. Do subscribe to our YouTube series for this and our YouTube channel, because actually what you'll find is there'll be lots of things going on to there which will be quite helpful for you just for the future, really. So we've covered so many things over these last 5 days. And today, the last session is really to bring it all together and to talk about a few other things as well. Yesterday, I talked a little bit about gathering evidence. What kind of evidence do you need and why? And different things you can do to protect yourself. So it was good to talk those things through with you. And I loved how much you guys interact with me. As I always say, I love it when you do come and chat to me. And so I don't feel like I'm alone talking to a screen. So it's good to have you guys talking in the chat box. If it is your first session with me, then know that you can send me messages privately and I won't say your name out loud so that you can stay anonymous. I know for some of you that is really important. So don't worry if that's something that you prefer, because this is all about you getting as much out of it as you can. And some of that comes from actually writing things down, engaging with each other so you can all learn from each other. And something that quite a few people said that while I've been talking is that they realized that this is normal. They thought it was something just happening to them, that they were divorcing somebody difficult. Some of these traits that I've talked about, they thought it was just them. Even the things that are coming up around boundaries and communication. Again, you don't feel so alone because you recognize that there's so many of you going through this. And it's really important for you to feel like that. Hearing other people's experiences make you realize and put into perspective your own journey. So today I will be talking to you a bit about empowering yourself to manage your own divorce, which can really keep your costs down, and your dream support team as well. And then ultimately, I'll give you an idea of how to bring it all together. And for those of you that know me, I am a former family lawyer. I was a practicing family lawyer for many years. And when I finished my divorce, it was something that I needed to change to work differently. And I'll tell you a bit about how I work at the end. So, it would be great if you could stay to the end, and I'll just tell you a bit about how I work as well. So there's different things that you need to do to get organized, to effectively communicate. And this is part of minimizing your costs. If you can manage parts of your divorce yourself, you can save time, money, and stress. And obviously, this is a general comment. For some people, things have to be differently, but it is possible to save money through this process. And, obviously, I've helped many clients through this. And this comes from actually managing parts of it yourself. Some of it comes from knowledge, understanding the process, but understanding your legal entitlement. And we did talk a little bit about how the divorce process works. So you understand the timeline, how to manage this process, and what is involved in it. The other thing that we talked about already was getting organized. If you can get yourselves organized, create a timeline of events, keep a log of incidents that are happening, anything financially that you are discovering, finding out, and important dates, that can really help you stay organized and save money. Use spreadsheets to track different deadlines that you may have coming up, especially if you've got court proceedings. You can use the spreadsheets to track assets and liabilities, income and expenditure, and other information as well. So think about how you could do that. My divorce planner has a downloadable spreadsheet that you can use yourself for these things as well. Back up all documents that you have digitally. If you have hard copies as well, that's great. And make sure you're keeping things like emails and text showing manipulation, financial information as much as you can, and try and piece together reports from third parties like doctors, schools, police, charities. Anything like that you can bring together will be really helpful. We also talked a little bit about communicating effectively, and I think this makes a massive difference. It seems like such a small thing, but actually, if you are communicating directly with your ex or communicating directly with their solicitors, learning to communicate effectively can save you money. And it might be because you actually send emails and letters out yourself, but also communicating via WhatsApp, via some of these apps that are now available, like Our Family Wizard and other apps like that. Those things can really help you save money because maybe you don't need a solicitor, maybe you're able to manage a lot of that communication yourself. So these sort of tools like email co-parenting apps, they can help you communicate. They also create a record of what is happening, and they can reduce emotional confrontations as well. So those things can really help you. I talked a lot about keeping emotions out of messages and emails and correspondence. Keep your messages short, factual, focused on logistics and sort of proposals. Avoid engaging in emotional arguments wherever possible. The other element of saving money, believe it or not, is actually building a dream team of support. And lots of people tell me, I had a client that finished working with me recently, and on her last meeting with me, I was asking her what she thought was a game changer to coming out through the journey on the other side. And there was a couple of things that came up for her. One was obviously working with me, but the other one that she said, which is really important, is having a team. And one member of her team was her therapist. And we talked a bit about therapy and whether, therapy is even something that you should be looking at. I would say that therapy is really important. Having a level of emotional support will get you through this process, especially if you are divorcing somebody who is difficult, who has narcissistic traits. It's likely that during the marriage, there has been abuse, you have struggled, there's been self-esteem issues, anything like that. And do let me know if anything that I'm saying resonates with you, or if you've got comments or any questions as well in the chat box, and you can put them in there as direct messages if you don't want to put them in. And as I said, that message came up for me, so thank you for putting that in. So think about emotional support. What emotional support do you need? Of course, we've got our family and friends there to help us. And I know my family and friends were really supportive and really helped me out. And they're there to help you with children if you have children. They're there to help you just to talk through things. They're there to help you to get you away from things as well, not just talk about it, but go and have some fun. But there to just give you emotional support. But having a therapist, counselor, somebody professional who can help you with your emotions, help you when you're struggling, Sometimes you just need help reframing what you're thinking, finding the gratitude in your life as well. These professionals are trained to help you with your mental health coping strategies, resilience, healing from trauma, all of these things that we really need. And her view, this particular client, her view was that alongside me, her therapist really helped her move forward. Because sometimes when you're feeling low, when you're struggling mentally, emotionally, it's so hard to pick yourself up and keep going. Because this is a really draining process. So think about, do you need help around that? Will that actually help you with your costs? So many people use their solicitors as therapists. When you're upset and something has happened, you may reach out and speak to your solicitor and have a 20-minute conversation with them, when actually that isn't a legal issue. What you're talking about is something that you're upset about that probably didn't need your lawyer to be involved. And at 350, 400 pounds an hour, I think therapy is much cheaper. So do think about that and work out how you can get help. There's different types of therapists that can help. You can reach out to your GP if you need help. They can signpost you to a counselor. They can signpost you to the type of therapy that you might need. If you believe that you're suffering from depression, again, there is lots of help out there for you. Don't be scared or ashamed of getting that help for yourself. This is not just about saving money, but actually, managing your mental health is really important during this time. And a lot of people do struggle. So there's no shame in reaching out for help. I've come across lots of different therapists that have helped my clients and myself as well. There's trauma abuse therapists. They specialized in narcissistic abuse therapies, and that can really help you if you have suffered from narcissistic abuse. There's psychotherapists, different types of counselors, therapists that help with CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, neuro-linguistic programming. There's so many different things. And I did try a few different things to help me. Straight counseling wasn't really the right thing for me. I didn't have problems talking about things. I really just needed help with how to look at things and how to get some tools in place. So when I was having a bad day, what could I do to help myself? Hypnotherapists, really good. My children did actually benefit from hypnotherapy because they struggled to talk about what they needed help with. So that really helped them. Also, things like emotional freedom technique, or EFT, it's called tapping. This is something that you can learn to do on yourself. Once you've learned how to do this, it's something you can use to regulate your nervous system all the time. So this is something you can learn and then continue using. And obviously there's lots of different things that people use, Reiki, healing, all sorts of different things. It's a matter of working out what resonates with you and what you would like to try. I'm just going to check the chat box. I'm hoping to get your opinion on this. He became very aggressive and threatening. He vandalized furniture, intimidated my daughter, and I had to go to the police. I was feeling unsafe, and we've been living in the same house. I really feel I can't cope anymore. The police suggested to see a GP, and GP suggested to refer my case to social services. I didn't want to because I didn't want to make things worse, but the GP insisted and said they will contact me first and won't do anything without my consent. I agreed, but not sure if it is a good idea. What do you think? I don't want to make a mistake. Sounds stressful. Social care will help you and put support in for you and the kids. Don't be scared of them. They are here to help. I don't want social services to be making decisions for my daughter. I'm the mother. Never thought I would be in this situation and never worked with them, so unsure. They won't and can't, as you have parental responsibility, not them. Tell them everything and they will be your wall of protection. So going to your GP was the right thing. Whether you want social services involved, a lot of people are scared of social services and they'll do whatever it takes not to involve them. I've seen so many people not go to the police because they're scared of social services. This has meant that they've not had protection from the police as they've needed it. It's also meant that the abuser has not had to face the consequences of their actions, because many people won't call the police due to fear of social services. You also won't report it to charities or the GP, again, because of this reason. And I do understand social services can be quite scary. They are there to protect children. And if they can see that you are also there to protect your child, in majority of the cases, they will work with you. If they see that you are not actually effectively safeguarding your child, they will be a little bit upset with that and they may take action. But if you are that person that is there prioritizing your child, doing whatever it takes because of your child, then they will support you, signpost you. I had a client very recently that had to, we had an emergency situation for her because we thought that the abuser was about to take the child and not return the child, but also she was in fear of violence that night. We knew that he was trying to break into the family home the night before, and she was insistent she went back to the family home. But I persuaded her to speak to the police. They spoke to social services, and social services were amazing. They got her into a refuge straight away. They signposted her to help. We managed to get her an injunction. She's safe. She's away from this situation. And they were amazing in providing reports, providing services and help. So it really depends on what you are doing. If they say to you that you cannot be living with the abuser anymore and you continue, then yes, they will be quite unhappy with that. If you are not willing to get an occupation order for that person to leave, or if you're not willing to leave yourself, then these things may cause a problem. But it depends on the severity and depends on what you need. So I hope that helps. So don't be worried about going to get help for your emotions. This is going to help you make better decisions, because there's lots of important decisions to be made. You will be saving money effectively because you won't be using your lawyer as your therapist. And that's really important. You might be able to make this process shorter because actually you're getting stronger, you're able to communicate differently, and you'll be able to just move things forward quicker. So it may be that you'll save money and this will be less stressful for you as well. So do think about that. That's an essential part of your dream team. Support groups. I really think this is important. And I don't know if any of you have joined a support group already. So from that point of view, I had a support group. It happened naturally, but I was in a group of people that were going through a divorce, and we supported each other. And without that support, some of us would have struggled so much. And so do look for support groups in your local area. I mean, they can be online support groups as well. It doesn't have to be face to face, but I did a mixture. We all became friends, and that massively helped me move forward and actually see that I could have a really good life outside of my marriage as well. You'll make friends, you'll get support. It's uplifting, supportive as well. So from that point of view, if anybody is looking for a support group, I actually do run one. It's very low key and just there to support each other, really. So if that's something that you would be interested in, if you could just let me know in the chat box, you can send it as a private message and we'll reach out to you and add you to that support group. So if there is anything in your local area, there is so many things now that is available to people. That will really help you with your emotional regulation as well, and just having somewhere to bounce ideas. Think about also financial advice. I always recommend that my clients speak to somebody that can help them around their finances. I do a lot of work with them, and I have a certain amount of knowledge around finances myself. Obviously, I've worked with a lot of people through their divorce, so I'm always talking about finances, products, creative proposals, all sorts of different things. Obviously, I've been through a divorce myself, so I actually had to live this. But for those of you that don't know, I also have a property business. I have three businesses, and one of my businesses, the property business, obviously, I'm dealing with finances myself. So I do recommend that even when you've got a financial proposal, even if I've helped you create this financial proposal, I will send you off to say, let's see if you can get the products that we think you can get. Let's see what income you can get from these investments that I'm telling you. You've got a certain amount of money to invest. Where's the best place to invest so you maximize your income, minimize your tax liability? We all need to get that help. A financial advisor is a great person to speak to, because actually the other thing that they can do, which not a lot of people realize, is they can do a cash flow analysis for you. So when you have this proposal that you're thinking of going ahead with, what they can do is run it through their cash flow system, and it will tell you what your life is going to look like. And they do it to age 100. What your life is going to look like till age 100. Are you going to have enough cash to do the things that you need to do and the things that you want to do? This divorce is not just trying to get through it. We also want a vision for your life. We want to think about what is there on the other side for you and how can we create that. So your financial proposal should have an element of that. I ask clients to speak to financial advisors, especially if you want to understand how your life is going to look like on retirement. What will happen when you get to a certain point where you're not working? How will you pay your mortgage? What's the plan at that stage? What about if you've got certain life events that are coming up that you know that you need to plan for, like children going to university? That might be a possibility. And if it's a possibility, will you be able to help them? You might want to plan for downsizing. You might need to get a bigger property because your children are young at the moment. Your proposal may have an element of a property that you can afford right now, but you might need a bigger property in the future as the children get bigger. What's the plan for that? So really interesting thing to do. I've done it in the past. I found it really useful. Mortgage brokers, really important again, because part of this process may be thinking about whether you can transfer the family home into your name. And if that is a possibility, we have to then look at, can you get a mortgage for the amount of mortgage that's currently on the family home? And do you need to raise some funds to pay the other person? So you might need to increase your mortgage. So getting an idea of your mortgage capacity is really important. Getting an idea of the products that are available to you at that stage, again, really important. And then it may be that if that proposal gets accepted, we're all out going for those products, making sure that you're securing that asset. So I do ask my clients to work with mortgage brokers as well. You might need to get some pension advice. Lots of people miss this bit, but sometimes it's necessary. If you have got reasonable sized pensions, you've got a reasonable sized pension, maybe your ex-husband or wife has got a reasonable sized pension, then it might be that you need to look at whether just keeping your own pensions is fair, or whether you need to do a pension share. And if you need to do a pension share, you may need to get a pensions report, an actuary report. So think about whether you need to get some pensions advice. When we're looking at pensions, what we're looking at is the income that you'll get on retirement and how things will look for you at that stage. And a pension share is not necessarily 50-50. It doesn't always give you the same income. It's quite a complicated formula. So you may need to speak to a pensions advisor to make sure that if you are getting a pension share, that it is the correct share, that if you are giving a pension share, again, that it's the fairest amount. So pensions advice can be quite useful. But even separately, if you've got lots of buckets of pensions in different plans, sometimes it makes sense to put them into one plan. Because actually you're paying fees for all the different plans you've got. It might make sense to amalgamate it. And for that, you might need some pensions advice. It might save you money and tax in the long term. The other thing is wealth management. Depending on your assets, we may have to structure your proposal, your financial proposal, in a way that allows for minimizing tax liability. It may be that we need to make sure your investments give you certain amount of income. So wealth management consultants, what they help with is that structure to minimize your tax liability and maximize the income you're getting. They may also look at a bit of inheritance tax planning as well alongside that. And accountants, finally. Accountants can help with valuing a business. If you've got a business, you may need to engage your accountant to give you a valuation. There's also forensic accountants, and they can help you where, for example, the finances for the other person are quite complex. They've been moving money around, they've been moving assets around. There may be hidden bank accounts, hidden assets, and they can help you piece together what's happening. So again, forensic accountants can be quite useful as well. We talked already on one of the sessions about mediation. And just in case you haven't come across a mediator before, a mediator is a neutral professional who helps you and your ex have constructive discussions. They help you reach agreements around various aspects of your divorce and separation. And these are things like practical arrangements, like who leaves the family home, what date do you leave, what's the interim plans until you've come to an agreement. The agreements cover finances and children as well. Once you have got this agreement through a mediator, if you manage to get an agreement, you will still need to get your agreement put into a financial consent order if it's finances, but also possibly into a parenting plan if it's a plan around the children. You can get a court consent order for children as well. Mediation can cover lots of different things. It can be face-to-face, it can be online. You can have shuttle mediation where you sit in different rooms. If it's online, then you'll be in different breakout rooms. You can have hybrid mediation, which is where your legal advisor is with you and the other person's legal advisor is with them. I don't see this very often. There's not many mediators that do this, not many mediators that feel comfortable with this. So usually mediation is you and your ex-husband or wife in a room or in a Zoom room together, discussing different elements to get to an agreement. You can get publicly funded mediation if you are on low income and you have low savings as well. So that might be helpful for those of you that are concerned about costs. Mediation is completely voluntary, so you can't force somebody to go to mediation. What you do need to do if you need to start court proceedings, so if you can't get to an agreement and you need to go to court for a judge to make a decision, you have to have your initial sole meeting with a mediator called a MIAM. And once you've had a MIAM, you can then get the certificate to go to court, unless you hit one of the exemptions. So if some people don't need to have a MIAM, if they fit within the exemption, so it's worth thinking about that. And the exemptions might be that there is an injunction, which means you can't communicate with each other. You can't be in a space together. Then you obviously wouldn't be expected to go to mediation. Or if it's really urgent, for example, if we had fear that a child would be removed without a parent's consent to another country, we may not have time to go to mediation. Then we just go straight to court. Mediation can be really helpful. Doesn't work for everybody, but I always think it's worth trying. Legal help. So what's out there for legal help? And most of you will know that solicitors are there, and they are there to help you with divorce if that is something that you're going through. So most people would have heard of them. You might know that they work on an hourly rate. They don't often do fixed fees, but sometimes they do. They work on an hourly rate, usually £350 an hour plus VAT. So it's about 420 an hour. And solicitors can do everything for you. They can take over your case. They will write letters for you. They will respond to letters for you. They'll give you advice. They'll prepare documents. Legal fees can be upwards from £10,000 each, going up to the average of 18,000 each. And then obviously people pay 50,000, 70,000. Some of you will have instructed a solicitor already, and you may have already incurred legal fees. So it'd be good to know if any of you are in that position. How much have you spent? It can be a very expensive process. And if you haven't spent it, you might know somebody who has spent a lot of money on legal fees. And you will hear solicitors say that they can estimate your costs, but it's very difficult to know because it depends on the number of hours that are required. And this depends on so many different things: how complicated your finances are, how difficult it is dealing with the other person, possibly what their solicitors are like. If they've got aggressive solicitors that love writing letters, love making things difficult, then your legal fees are going to be high. If they will not come to reasonable agreements, your legal fees could be high. If the other person refuses to disclose assets, again, your legal fees could be quite high. And I've got clients at the moment that are going through this, and the other person is refusing to disclose information. And luckily we get there for a lot of them. And if they had a solicitor working for them, there would have been a lot of letters that the solicitor wrote, and I know their legal fees would have been about 25,000, which is quite scary. When I was going through this, luckily I could do it myself because actually I didn't have any money. We had a lot of debts, nothing else, so I couldn't have afforded legal fees. And that's primarily why I do things a bit differently, because I understand what it's like not to have enough money to pay for fees. If you are divorcing somebody difficult, if you are divorcing somebody who has narcissistic traits, they will make your costs shoot up because there will be so many letters written. They will be making things difficult. They will not disclose just because they like to be in control. And you may not have sufficient knowledge of the finances to be able to come up with proposals. And there's so many letters, so much information, so many telephone calls, meetings, documents being prepared that your legal fees shoot up, especially with somebody who is just being difficult and there is no need for it. Ultimately, they will need to deal with this, but they won't deal with it easily, which then costs you so much money, which is such a shame. And I can see I've spent so much, I feel like giving up the fight. Sometimes my solicitor will unnecessarily email me. It's hard to complain to her because I don't want to annoy her. And I really get this, but actually you should be in control. If you have got a solicitor, don't see it like that. You have to be in control. You are paying the bills. You have to understand what is going on. You have to question the costs. You have to question why you got that unnecessary email. Solicitors will pick up your file once a week and they will bill you to review your file. And they may have not done anything. They may just have gone, okay, nothing to do on this file, and put it aside. Yet you would have got bills for that. And they round up their billing. Obviously, I've worked in a practice. I know exactly what it's like. They round up their billing and they're under pressure to hit billing targets. So for a lot of firms, It is a profit making, and it has to be profit making, of course. But sometimes some firms will just bump up the charges unnecessarily. And if you don't say anything, you'll be paying thousands and thousands. And you wouldn't let another company get away with that. So don't feel like you're stuck, number one. You can always change solicitors if you're not happy. And number two, it's okay for you to question your solicitor as to their bills and why they're emailing you unnecessarily, because you may have paid £500 for that email that's come out. So do think about that. I've got a couple of questions. Can you go directly with a barrister and do the solicitor role myself? And absolutely you can. Direct access barristers are there to help you. Usually I use them for court proceedings. So if my clients have court proceedings, I may ask them to instruct a direct access barrister, somebody that I recommend. They're really good. They're used to dealing with you directly. You can save a lot of money. But there are some things that your solicitor may have done for you that you might have to do yourself. So it's understanding from a legal point of view, what do you need to do, and do you know your entitlements? But a direct access barrister may be happy to advise as well. And a message, can we leave solicitor and come to you? Many people do. I have a lot of people that have spent 25, 30,000 on solicitors and run out of money and then had to find a different way of doing things so that they're in control and they're not wasting so much money. But yes, I'll talk a bit about what I do as well. I was quoted 12, 15,000 upwards. I've no money to afford that. So I spoke to a Mackenzie friend and had first MyAm on my own, now waiting for a joint one. Absolutely. I mean, 12, 15,000 is probably, that's what you were quoted. It could have gone way above that. What do you do if your legal fees end up being 30,000 and you just can't afford it? So you have to find other ways to manage this yourself if you can. But also, if you are going to have a solicitor, then think about how you can keep the costs down. And it's not to say that all solicitors are terrible. I would never say that. There's so many good solicitors doing such a good job, and they don't bill you unnecessarily. They are not aggressive. They are there to try and get this done as quickly as possible. They are not thinking about adding more and more time so that they earn more and more. Some solicitors genuinely want to get you through this in the best possible way. So this isn't me saying don't go to solicitors, but just be careful. But the truth is, you don't necessarily need a solicitor. So many people now are doing it themselves, or they are keeping their costs down by hand picking the things they need help with. It may be that you don't need help with everything. You might just need a little bit of help now and then with different things. So this is why I talk about a team. You've got to have people there that can help, but you pick the help that you need when you need it. And if you don't need a solicitor, why does everyone think you do? It's an education piece, really, that people think they need someone. They have to instruct a solicitor straight away. And now more and more people are getting savvy to that and not doing it straight away. It is possible to do pretty much everything yourself if you wanted to. There may be certain things that I would advise that you didn't do yourself, like drafting your financial consent order. That is a bespoke document that's sent to the court, and we've got to make sure that's drafted correctly. Otherwise, the courts just will not accept it. So we need to be a bit careful about certain documents. But most things you can do yourself. And lots of people draft their consent order themselves as well, but it's a tricky thing to draft. What are the benefits in having doing it yourself? Is that costs are low. You may not spend 12, 15,000. You are in control of this. I have had so many clients that felt like they just weren't in control of their own divorce process. It may be that during the marriage you weren't in control. Maybe, you've come out of the marriage and you feel like you're spiraling out of control. Things are just happening around you. I had a client that came to me after being with quite a well-known solicitor, and she didn't know what was happening. And we had to try and piece together where she was at. And it turned out she was in court proceedings And nobody had told her they were starting proceedings. Nobody had told her that there was an offer on the table. She hadn't been advised of this offer. And actually, she would have taken the offer if she had a choice. And the first thing she finds out is there's a hearing, and her solicitor has started the proceedings. And so she was not in control. She was spiraling out of control. She just didn't know what was going on. And she also was scared of questioning her solicitor. Scared, she didn't understand what they were saying to her, that she didn't understand the advice she was being given because of the way they were saying it. It wasn't in easy language. It wasn't sort of as a layperson needs to hear it. So sometimes you don't feel like you're in control and you don't understand things. I've had many people come to me who have a solicitor, and they come to me because they just don't understand. And it's such a shame that you're paying somebody to be there, yet you don't understand what is happening. You don't understand your options correctly. You don't understand the consequences of each option. They need to be explained to you carefully. There is never just one option. You need to make that decision after understanding everything. Shouldn't be your solicitor making that decision for you and saying, that's it, we're going to court. There may be other things that you could do. As I said, my clients tell me solicitors can be quite scary and cold. They're not all like that, but this is people's opinions, that they don't necessarily explain things in clear language. There's a certain element of support they give you, but it is legal advice. It's clinical legal advice. They are not there to discuss, as I did with some of my clients yesterday, this whole thing. We were talking about how sometimes you are going for this divorce, but that little voice in your head says, are you doing the right thing? Should I change my mind? Maybe he or she will change. And then that other voice saying, you've done this before. It always comes up. You always give them a chance. And then we go back. We have these sort of discussions because everything is important. Every thought you have, every fear you have, every bit of overwhelm, we need to talk it through. Solicitors aren't going to do that. They will explain something to you and you've got to make a decision. They follow a process, and their process is a legal process. I think that this is more than a legal process. Understanding psychology, understanding communication and boundaries, understanding the other person, having self-awareness about who you are, and understanding your emotional triggers, and understanding yourself properly will make such a big difference. I've got a client right now who's almost finished, and she came to me and said, I don't want anything from the marriage. I'm going to leave without anything. And it took me a while, but I've managed to persuade her that she needs a home. She needs somewhere to live. She needs to buy a home. Because what happens when she's not working and she can't rent anymore? And I've helped her understand herself, understand her life, understand her husband, so that she can get through this without fighting. She was scared of the fight. And once I really understood what she was scared of, I was able to help her. So the benefits of doing yourself is that you can understand these things and decide where you're going and how you want to do it. There isn't just one process. There's so many things involved in this that we need to understand things better. But the problem, and so many of you will say, the problem with doing it yourself is you just don't have enough knowledge. Like, that's why you're here. That's why you've spent 5 days with me. That's why so many of you will come to my free sessions, because you don't have enough knowledge. You are there feeling a bit lost. You can read things on Google, but then, as somebody said to me yesterday, I read things on Google, but I just don't understand how they apply to me. Or there's differing information. And so having someone explain this to you makes a difference. Sometimes you don't know where to start with things. You don't know how to protect yourself. Sometimes you're so emotional and so invested in the relationship that you can't see things clearly. Like my client who said, I don't want anything because I don't want to fight. I want things to be amicable. And the only way they can be is if I leave with nothing. And they've reached an agreement based on her getting a home that she will be buying. And so that's when you are emotional, it's very hard for you to see clearly, and you will end up doing things that maybe aren't quite the right thing for you, or you may end up giving away more time with the children than actually is safe. You may end up having a financial settlement that isn't right for you. You're scared and you just need someone to answer questions for you. So that's the problems with doing it yourself. And I'm just going to have a look at the chat box to see. So many people are doing it themselves as they can't afford it, but they're losing out on what they're entitled to, or being bullied by an ex to agree things because they have no legal support and they're doing it themselves. Yeah, and that's exactly what I said, that you end up being too emotional. And I'll take you through a client story in a bit more detail, and you can see the kind of things that came up for her and how she had to do things so that she didn't end up giving away too much. She had support, and she felt supported. That's the most important thing. Me and the kids are staying at my dad's for a couple of weeks after a domestic violence incident. Would I be able to put through an occupational order for the family home while staying here? Scared to go back to the family home whilst he's there because he's unstable. Going to check eligibility for legal aid as NCDV helped me to get in contact with them on Monday. Yeah, you can get an occupation order although you're not living in the home, because you've moved away just for your safety temporarily, but you can get back in. If you're entitled to legal aid, that would be your first stop. Be careful because legal aid solicitors are so busy. And I have got a client right now that has a legal aid solicitor. She didn't get her occupation order on non-molestation order, even though I believe that she should have got it because the preparation wasn't done correctly. And that's what I said on one of the days, that prepare for your occupation order, non-molestation order properly, because they are hard to get. And this particular legal aid lawyer didn't. And I was there redrafting statements, re-looking at things, because I wanted her to get it, but her lawyer wouldn't accept it. So she ended up not getting the orders she wanted, even though she knew that the work wasn't quite correct. So you have to stay on top of it. Okay, so why am I telling you all this? It's because this is what I do. This is where I come in. I've got years of legal experience, but I've also got personal experience because I've been through what you are going through right now. And I think that makes a massive difference. And I'll tell you a bit about what I do, but there are options like a direct access barrister where you can pay for one-off legal advice. You could pay for one-off legal advice from a solicitor. Even a direct access barrister can't support you all the time because obviously you would end up paying a lot of money. Mackenzie Friends are there to help. Mackenzie Friend is somebody who maybe isn't a solicitor, may not even be legally trained. Some Mackenzie Friends have been through a divorce themselves, so they understand how to represent themselves. So they have knowledge. Where they got the knowledge from obviously differs. Some are really good, some aren't that great, but it's understanding obviously who you're working with. There was somebody there who said that they had a Mackenzie Friend. So a Mackenzie Friend could be an option as well. And I guess because I don't hold a practicing certificate anymore because I want to help people differently, and it's almost a stand against the way that solicitors practice, I guess I'm like a Mackenzie Friend as well. But just before I start telling you a little bit about how I work, I just wanted to bring together everything that we've talked about over the 5 days, just so that you understand how this roadmap looks, because we're here for a 5-day roadmap. And we've talked about so many different things over the 5 days. You know, it's been, I don't know, 5 hours of talking, telling you different aspects. So if I was going to bring it together and tell you to take some steps, what would I tell you to do as a roadmap? And the first thing is define your goals. What are your priorities? For example, is it that you want the children to live with you? How do you need to financially, what needs to happen so that your needs are met? Is it that you want to get a peaceful resolution? Do you want to stay out of court? Do you want to keep your legal fees down? Exactly what is it that you need to happen? What is negotiable? What is non-negotiable? So we know where we are going right from the outset. Then you need to create a strategy. Use what you know about your ex to anticipate what they're going to do. Understand their psychology to know how this is likely to go. It might change along the way. And understanding the process is really important because then you can say, okay, I'm going to do this for a month. If that doesn't help, I'm going to do this. And if that doesn't do it, if I don't get anywhere with getting financial disclosure, then my next stage is going to be this. And you have this plan. You've created a strategy. You've put deadlines in because it's so easy to let it drift when you're feeling emotional, when there's overwhelm, when there's so much going on for you. You know, you may be working, you may have children, you've got a house to run, there's a lot to do, but breaking it down into a proper roadmap, a proper plan will really help you. And then think about documenting everything. So evidence is your strongest tool, like that you have to document everything. You have to stay consistent with it. You have to stay organized with that because you will inevitably need this information. So think about how you document, how you log evidence, what information do you need to protect, what information do you need to obtain, and how do you protect yourself? We talked a bit about non-molestation injunctions, occupation orders, changing passwords, making sure you're not stalked via your camera doorbell, security cameras, but also protecting yourself by making sure passwords are changed on your bank accounts, on your emails, on your phone, on your security cameras, whatever it is, securing everything. The next thing is lean on support. Build this dream team that will support you. You can buy in certain services as and when you need it, but you do need support through this. Build this network of friends, support groups, resources, professionals to guide you. And then finally, take action. And what I see from people is that they are overwhelmed because this is difficult. But start with small steps. Break down what you need to do this week into small steps. Take 5 minutes a day. And then you're not looking at everything you need to do. You are looking at today's action, which can really help you. It's almost like when you're walking a path in the dark because you don't know how this is going to be. You know you've got a destination and you've got a torch. The torch is not going to light up the whole path. What it will do is light up where you are stepping next. So see it like that. Do the small things like organizing an estate agent to come round, possibly the next day, schedule an appointment that you need to schedule. And what you will find is that this progress that you make will mean that you will trust yourself to take action and it will build confidence. And that is the main thing. Taking that action is really going to help. So that is where I would like to stop. I've brought it all together into a roadmap for you. Do let me know your thoughts on what I've shared so far over the 5 days. There's been a lot of work behind the scenes that you don't always see happening. There's a lot of support that I get so that I can put something like this on, principally Nelma, who is my assistant, who does so much work behind the scenes to put this together so that I'm able to do this. So I would love to know your feedback. I'd love to know your thoughts, whether it's been helpful for you. What I'm going to do while you are doing that is tell you how I work. I didn't want to make these 5 days about me, so I haven't shared exactly how I work with you until today. And obviously, I want to share. Lots of people are asking, and you know, I'll put that together and share that with you. So let me just share my screen first, and I'll just take you through how I work so that you can see how that is. Oh, let me see if I can find it first. Okay, share screens. And thank you so much for being here and being patient and playing all out and really talking to me and putting your comments there. That really shows me that you guys really want to make a difference and change things up for yourself. Okay, so what do? I help you to divorce with confidence, with less stress, a clear process, so that you can move on to that vision that I want you to have for that life you deserve. When I went through this, I was scared. I was terrified of what my life was going to look like. And of course, I'm 13 years on from the day that I decided to get divorced. It did take me a few years to finalize things, and I went through needing to get an injunction myself. I went through homelessness for 6 months with the three children. I went through mental health difficulties, so I understand what you guys are going through. But 13 years on, I have three businesses that I have built myself. I have my own home. The children are growing up. They're, doing very well. Me and my ex-husband have a reasonably good relationship. I can pick up the phone and have a chat with him about the children, anything coming up. And so what I can say to you is there is hope. You can do this and you will come out of it. And, you can strive to have the life that you want on the other side. And before I tell you exactly how I work, I just wanted to take you through a case study so you can see how everything comes together for somebody that is maybe in the same position as you. So this is a client of mine, and I'm telling you her story. Obviously, her name is not Annika because I need to protect her confidentiality. Annika is married and she has a child aged 10. So her daughter is quite young still. There's been domestic abuse in the relationship, and she has lots of recordings, lots of evidence around that domestic abuse that has happened. She works full time, but because she took a bit of time off with her daughter, she now earns less than her husband. So consequently, she has less of a pension. She has less of an income than her husband. So that's part of obviously the process that we need to look at. Her main asset is the family home. They did have some savings, and they both have a pension as well, but the main asset was the family home. When I met her, and I actually met her in 2017, and she didn't say anything to me at the time. It was actually at a social event, but she followed me, and I'll tell you what her words were. But when we first started talking, she was scared. She didn't think that she could do this. She was really frightened of how her life was going to look on the other side. And she just didn't have the money to pay for legal fees. And that made her feel really scared. Her main aim was to stay in the family home if she could, and to have more time with her daughter, because actually, due to her work, she worked from home. The family home is near her daughter's school, and her husband worked away a lot, worked abroad a lot. So actually, it was difficult for him to be the main person in charge of the child. So this is what she came to me with, and we worked together, moving things on. So this was her words, because at the end of working with me, I have a call with clients just to see what their experience was, how they started, where they are now. And this is what her words were, that she met me in 2017, but she kept following me, watching what I was doing. And I think she wanted to reach out many times, but she just felt scared. When I talk to her, I offer a fixed fee, which she found really interesting and different. She knew that she could do it within an affordable budget. And then suddenly I got a call from her saying, I'm ready, I want to do this. And she reached out. And what did we work on? The first thing was actually this vision. I really need to know, what is it that you want? Where are you going? What is that life on the other side? What's important to you? Really understanding the psychology of everybody, the dynamics, the psychology, understanding what's coming up for you, what fears, what overwhelm, what stops you. So really getting inside your head as well, because there will be times where I will need to help you move through. So this first step is creating this vision, creating a map, deciding how do we want to do this? Because often people would say there is one way, and I don't believe that. There's many ways to do things. We have to do it the way you need it to be to help you, but also we have to do it in a way that protects you. So For Annika, what was important was that we did lots of research. She needed to be that person that understood her finances and where her life was going before she started. So we actually did that. We did research, we worked together. I gave her help, guidance on what her life could look like, what's the possibilities, where could the sticking points be. Once we had this plan, we then took the next step, which was actually do it yourself divorce effectively. The divorce application was started. We did it together because she was very worried about this, and I fully understand that. I held her hand through that. It was submitted. Before she did that, she told her husband that it was over. We discussed how she was going to say it, how she was going to be safe while she said it, because there had been domestic abuse. We also made sure that before she told him, certain things were protected. We'd protected her financially and otherwise. And then her divorce was submitted and he received a copy of it. And there were certain times where we thought he wouldn't sign the bit he needed to sign. And we were preparing for court applications to move the process forward. Luckily, she was able to get him to sign the documents and the divorce started proceeding through. We then moved on to financial disclosure, which was a bit tricky. There were some really difficult times there. We managed to get the information we needed to make decisions around finances. And then we worked really hard, intensely on the proposals. We made sure that the proposals suited her priorities, were creative, and that she could get the product she needed. So there was work with a financial advisor to make sure what she wanted to happen, what we proposed, she could actually do. So she knew exactly what she was doing, and she was a bit scared of approaching her husband. Luckily for her, although he had solicitors, she could approach him. They were living in the same house. We did a lot of journaling around building her confidence to talk to him, understanding her proposals and why they were in everyone's best interests, the pros and cons of her proposals, because you need to feel that confidence in what you are doing and you need that focus. So she started negotiating, and we did step-by-step work on the negotiation because there was emotions coming up for her. Every time she put a proposal to him, she would be worried if he didn't respond straight away. She'd want to offer him more money. She would say, I'll just give him this, just because I haven't heard. And I was there to sense check her, to keep her balanced, to stop her from offering and on her proposals. So I kept her calm, and they got to an agreement. Luckily, they reached a plan for their daughter, which was great. We did things a different way as well. We didn't go straight for consent order, which was what most people would suggest. We did things a little bit differently. As long as she was protected, there's lots of ways of doing it. So we had that financial agreement. Ultimately, the house was transferred into her name. She paid a lump sum. Her daughter lives with her and has really good contact with dad. So she got exactly what she wanted. Doesn't always happen, obviously. We can't magic these things every time. She believes she saved 150,000. She could have got that as lump sum extra to give him, but because I kept stopping her and making her take a breath in between offers, we were able to save her that money. She believes she saved around 20,000 on legal fees as well. So these were her words of what she felt she saved. She was initially scared and confused. She divorced amicably, luckily for her. She stayed in the family home and saved herself 170,000. And after the family home was transferred into her name, she has done lots of work on it. She's been doing DIY on the property, and she invited me round and we shared a glass of champagne. And I was so proud to see what she's created for herself through this. And this was her actual words. She's nicer than I would expect from a lawyer because she added therapy. I'm not a therapist, just in case. I mean, these were her words, but I'm not a therapist. I'm not there to give you therapy. I'm not trained in that. But actually, just talking things through can help. I felt guilty that I was using her as a therapist. Lots of my clients cry and we talk things through. But she didn't use me as a therapist. It just felt like that. The back and forth calls, intense time meant a lot, and she respected that. The program works. Do your preparation, follow what she says, as I did. On every call, she made it count and she made the best of it. It does work, and it can work within 6 months, but you've got to be prepared to do the work. I'll empower you, but you've got to be ready and have that clear vision of what you want. So these were her actual words from a call that we had. So what is it that I do? I've told you, I've talked a lot about my clients. I've given you a case study. What is it that I actually do? I have a program, and by a program, what I mean is it's almost a fixed fee container. It's 6 months that I work with you. You might need more time, and you can stay with me for longer if you need to, but I give you an initial fixed fee for 6 months. It is a fixed fee so that you are not worried about talking to me. I do not want you to be worried about asking me questions, showing me documents, showing me correspondence, working with me. As long as you are willing to do the work, I'm there to help you. And it gets intense, but we've got to do it. Whether it is injunction proceedings, whether it is child arrangements, finances, divorce, practical arrangements, empowering you, getting rid of overwhelm, I'm there to help you. I help with correspondence, documents, the divorce application, financial proposals, settlements, child arrangements, and it's in a supportive community. And what we mean by that is actually it is a group process. There are one-to-one calls with me, but actually you are doing this in a group, and it works amazingly well because you feel supported and you've got a tribe with you, empowering you as well. And from time to time, we bring in other experts. And this was a testimonial that I got actually a couple of days ago from a client that's just finished. If you've made the hard decision of getting divorced, I'm the person that will help to get you there. This isn't about legal support, but you get emotional support, and it makes you think hard about your future and how you're going to get there. When you're in the thick of it, it's difficult to see what your life looks like. But I help you see your current financial situation so you can make the right decisions. This was extremely useful in order for me to see what I could afford and fully understand how I was going to get where I wanted to be. She found help with completing legal forms, reassurance they were filled in correctly, and then help with understanding how to actually do these things. And obviously, I feel a bit embarrassed when I read these things out, so I won't read more of it. And she felt that she wouldn't have been able to do it if I hadn't helped her. And empathy and genuine kindness through this process is really important as well. So that's what my clients say. And what is it that you have to pay for the support to join me? And how does it work? So we have a planning call right at the beginning so that we can work out where you're going. Through the middle of it, we have a call, a really intense call about financial proposals. The 6 months of calls, there are 3 calls a week that you can join, drop in, ask me questions, tell me how you're feeling, tell me what help you need, what documents you're working on. And every time I will give you a couple of actions to do for that week so that you're progressing. And you also have me on a messaging app, so you can message me whenever you want to. And again, it's direct messages to me, private messages. You can drop your documents to me privately so that I have the opportunity to review it and come back to you. During the weekly calls, they're Zoom calls. You can be anonymous on the Zoom calls, as long as obviously I know who you are. But actually, what I find is everyone is so open and so kind to each other, and they help each other as well, which is amazing. You get resources, templates that you might need, documents that you might need. So generally, I'm there also with my little black book of people that you might need to help you as well. And at the moment, we're running an offer. It's £2,250 for 6 months. And bearing in mind that people say that the average fee is £18,000 in the UK each. This is very low for a fixed fee, which I keep getting told. Lots of my clients finish their divorce, consent order, everything in that amount. So it can really be worthwhile. Usually I don't have a discount. I usually sell it for £2,500. But actually, just for a short period, I've reduced the fee down. But what I also have done is added a couple of bonuses, just because you've been here for the 5 days, but also because it's, a difficult time, and I do love to help. The bonus, one of the bonuses is an extra one-to-one call for you to take whenever you want to. You just need to let me know if when it is that you need that, and we book that in. Bonus 2 is a copy of the divorce planner. I know some of you were saying that it was helpful, so you've already got it. If you haven't, then that can be sent out to you. And I am doing a live event on the 8th of February. And I'll be bringing professionals, talks, inspiring speakers. So you will have a free VIP invite to that as well. So hopefully that helps you. For this special offer, it's for 5 spaces, available till the 1st of December. And we get going as soon as you are ready to start. Some of you will need to do a bit of preparation work before you even tell the other person. So we get started straight away with what you need. You just need to let me know. So that's the offer that I've got running at the moment. If you are looking at this offer and thinking, is it right for me? Is it what I need? I'll always be honest with you. If I think it's not the right thing, I will tell you. I don't do sales really in the same way. There's no pressure tactics from me. It's more, if you believe that it would help you, then come and have a chat with me, and I will tell you whether it's the right thing for you as well. It may or may not be. So we can talk that through. And Nelma will put in the chat box how you can reach out. And obviously follow me in different places. I've got a series coming out soon, and it is all about you being more than your divorce. Literally, people get so stuck in that space where they're divorced and they can't move forward. I'll be bringing inspiring stories of just people like you that have been through a divorce, what helped them, how they got through where they are now, just to bring you hope and inspiration. So subscribe to the YouTube channel and you will see that. I'm planning on adding some divorce clinics so I can answer your questions, and follow me on socials and see what I'm up to as well. So I'm going to stop sharing. I know there were some questions and I know we've gone over as well because I like to talk. So let me just see what you've been asking. Okay, all of what you have said so resonates with me, but his narcissistic traits make me fear the process and overwhelms me, as he comes across such a charismatic person outside and in the community. Yeah, that is relevant to a point, but when it comes to the divorce process, you have to focus on you, focus on who you are, where you are going, and how much you need this to happen, because the charisma will stay with him. Nobody knows what it's like living with somebody like that. I have 3 children, all at home, but non-dependent. None are in a position to buy their own home. One's in an apprenticeship, one's doing ad hoc casual work. Do they automatically rule that out as they're over 18? Even though I have to look for a house for 4 of us, he needs a house for 1. Do they ever consider this? Generally, it's not taken into account, because that might just be a temporary thing. It may just be for a year. And the courts expect that children over 18 can work and contribute into the household. My experience also is very different. I've got a nearly 20-year-old and a 23-year-old, and they still need a room. They still need everything paying for them, because my 23-year-old has just got into her first job. And my 20-year-old is still at uni. And in fact, I'm paying out for her maintenance costs. So actually, when they're 18, they don't just disappear and survive on their own. But the courts still are a bit old-fashioned with that, and they see 18-year-olds as able to contribute. My youngest left college and wasn't working when X left, but he didn't pay a penny to him. I supported him until he found work. Do they consider this in finances? If he's over 18, your ex doesn't need to pay child maintenance. if your ex was working and didn't pay child maintenance, then maybe you might need to bring that up. Thank you. Thank you, R, for that. Thank you for all your time, kindness, and advice. Thank you so much. Your sessions have been extremely informative and helpful. This has been immensely helpful, informative, reassuring. I find a lot of emotional support listening to you, and you are part of my dream team support group. Brilliant. Your webinars have kept me sane, and you bring some hope and reassurance. Thank you. Lots of help from you. Thank you. Your book is arriving today, and I've got a lot to think about after these 5 days. But after your sessions, I'm feeling a little bit more empowered. My end goal is to be happy. I love that. Mentally stronger for my children. Really happy to have found you. You've no idea how much hope you've given me for a better future. Keep hold of that hope. It's definitely out there, I can tell you. And my children would tell you the same. And that's the interesting thing, that my children also believe this was the right thing. If I've been in the same job 34 years and paid into a pension part-time since the kids, and he walked out of teaching job, took low-paid work and purposely didn't pay into a pension, is that an argument for keeping my pension or reducing the amount he's entitled to take? I mean, what we look at is what you're earning, but also what your earning capacity could be. If you believe that he's given up his job, especially because you're going through a divorce, you could consider his earning capacity. If he walked out of that teaching job many, many years ago because he couldn't cope, didn't like it, then that won't necessarily come into play. He's purposely not paid into a pension, but if he'd paid in, obviously he would have built the pension up, but has he got savings instead? But usually the court will just look at what's there, look at your income, and then share it accordingly. Empathy and support is everything in such a stressful time. Some friends and even family can be quite dismissive. Yeah, it's really hard to talk to friends constantly, isn't it? They get fed up of hearing about it, and you need to talk. You need to let this out. And also they don't understand how it feels. So it's very difficult. And yes, they can be dismissive. And also sometimes you get the wrong advice. The amount of people that say to me, but my auntie down the road said her neighbor went through a divorce and she got the family home and she got all the pensions. And obviously people's situations are different. So what happened in her situation may not happen in yours. Would you be able to represent us in court in case it goes through that route? So if we do end up starting court proceedings, and my clients do, because ultimately, if that's what they have to do as a next step, we do that. We can't be scared of that either. I help them with the documents to start. I help them with all the prep work that will be needed. In court, we get a direct access barrister to represent you. Or you could have a Mackenzie friend, so I help you find somebody. My divorce was £12,000, no cost to him as he refused, and no support like you offer. I truly wish I'd met you before. Thank you so much. I'm midway through my divorce and my final hearing for children matter is December the 16th. I have to submit my statement today. Could I have a call with you today? I think I want to take up your offer. To the person who messaged that directly, we'll drop you a message. Noah, could you drop that person a message just so that we can touch base today? Will my stroke, dementia, Parkinson's affected mum with no income in this country be considered while housing will be considered? You might need to consider your mum. She's not part of the sort of marital considerations, but you should definitely consider her. She may be on benefits and so therefore may be able to contribute to the household. But yes, obviously from a moral point of view, you need to consider her. If she's living with you, she may need to continue living with you. But from a court point of view, they would take her into account as she's vulnerable, but not necessarily on how to split the assets. Thank you. It's been really interesting and really well done. Taken loads on board and appreciate your help. Thank you so much. Very informative. Wishing everyone good luck with your journey. Yeah, good luck, everyone. Thank you. Need to leave now. Thanks a lot. It's immensely helpful. Brilliant. I'm so glad that you found it useful. It's been great being here, presenting to you for 5 days. There is a lot of work that goes into putting on something like this, but it's really nice to have you all here. It's really nice to be able to share my journey, to give you hope, hopefully to let you know that you're going to be fine, and to share some insights with you as well. If you do want to find out more about working with me, do reach out. You can either book a call or you can reach out to me on any of the social media channels that we shared. You will get an email with all the replays, and that will have all the ways that you can reach out as well. So look out for that. Keep in touch. Subscribe to YouTube and you'll always get to see what's going on. And it's always sad when we finish the 5 days. But thank you so much for being here with me. It's always like therapy for me as well, being able to do this. So thank you. Wish you all good luck on your journey. Wish you all the best. And just know that you're going to get through it. So do take care and see you all very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.